Hello and welcome to the Daily Millwall for Monday, the 6th of November 2023. In today's Millwall news, it is officially announced Joe Edwards, the new Millwall head coach. No manager, not manager, head coach. So this is from millfc.co.uk. This was posted up about 5 o'clock. Millwall confirmed Joe Edwards as new head coach. Millwall Football Club is delighted to announce the appointment of Joe Edwards as its new head coach. The 37-year-old joins the Lions alongside Andy Myers, who will be installed as assistant head coach. Adam Barrett, who has overseen the last 4 matches on a caretaker basis, and Andy Marshall, meanwhile, will remain part of the club's backroom staff. So that suggests that Paul Robertson will be leaving. So effectively, Adam Barrett is replacing Paul Robinson. He's demoted to first team coach. A youth team prospect at Chelsea, Edwards made his first foray into coaching with the Blues at the age of 19, overseeing FA Youth Cup victories before being promoted to the first team setup under Frank Lampard. Edwards was to remain in his post as Thomas Tuchel took over at Stamford Bridge, becoming part of the setup which won the Champions League in 2021. From there, he moved to Goodison Park to assist Lampard at Everton. Don't mention the results there, do they? And has most recently been in charge of England's under-20 side. And they don't mention those results either. Firstly, it's a really proud day for me and my family, Edwards told millfc.co.uk. Although I've been coaching for a long time, a lot of people will be aware that this is my first job managing as head coach. Throughout the years at various levels, you think you would have had the opportunity to make the step up to do it in a club like this, to be head coach of Millwall FC. I don't take that lightly at all. I'm really excited. James Berylson, chairman of Millwall Football Club, spoke of his excitement at the appointment of Joe. With Joe, I'm excited. He's somebody who I think is very innovative and has some positive ideas about the progression we can make as a club. It was a thorough process with no stone left unturned, and Joe was engaging, attentive, impressive throughout, and I felt that we could have a productive working relationship together. We welcome both Joe and Andy to the den with open arms and look forward to seeing the impact they can make on and off the pitch throughout what we hope to be a long relationship with Millwall. Alex Aldridge, Director of Football Operations and Recruitment, added, "We have taken our time to conduct a thorough recruitment process, and we are delighted to welcome Joe to Millwall. Joe is a highly motivated, dynamic coach who is held in high regard by everyone he has worked with at Chelsea, Everton and the Football Association, and we feel he's a great long-term fit for the club. Joe has strong principles and clear ideas for taking the team forward, and given his background in developing young players, fully understands the importance of having a strong link with our academy. Everyone at Millwall is looking forward to welcoming Joe and working together to build on the progress we've made in recent years." Edwards will take training at Calmont Road on Tuesday for the first time. Preparations will then continue ahead of his first game as head coach this Saturday as the Lions travel to Sheffield Wednesday in the Sky Bet Championship kick-off at 3 p.m. Good Lord, what have we done? What have we done? Now, moving on to London News Online, the South London Press. Mill's head coach, Hachu, Joe Edwards, outlines his playing plans and explains why it won't be an overnight revamp. New Millwall head coach Joe Edwards has promised that he will not be implementing a super quick overhaul of the team's playing style. 37-year-old did an extensive interview with Mill TV Plus after his appointment earlier today. The Lions have secured the England under-20 head coach as Gary Rowett's successor. Edwards has had excellent success at youth level with Chelsea before moving on to the first team staff and working under Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel. He opted to leave the Blues to become Lampard's assistant boss when the former England international took the Everton job. Now Edwards is striking out on his own as the main man. First of all, I do want to acknowledge what went before, he told Millwall TV Plus. I did my pro licence with Gary Rowett, so I know Gary. I remember talking years ago with Gary about his preferred style of play. He's probably quite different to mine, but I fully well know that there isn't a right or wrong way of playing football. No one way is better than the other. You can be successful in many different ways of playing, and I've seen that with the different managers I've worked with. For Gary and the guys that have been around in recent years to achieve what they've achieved for consecutive top half finishes in the Championship in the league that is one of the most competitive and difficult in the world. That's not easy to do. I've got full respect for all the work that's gone on before me and been done. It's a long time for one group to work together, and then changes happen. Change can sometimes feel like a new lease of life and a breath of fresh air. What I like to see is us be proactive with the ball. The main reason I'm conscious not to use the word possession too much is that I'm not an obsessive possession-based coach where we have to have 65 or 70% of the ball. You can have 70% of the ball in a game and not play well. I know that. From my impression as part of this process, I've been watching a lot of Millwall. Particularly this season, I see a group that are hard-working, incredibly well organised without the ball, and hard to create a chance against typically in a good game. There is maybe a bit more in there with the ball. I want us to be more on the front foot and proactive from an attacking point of view, and that starts on the training pitch. A lot of the work we do in these early days and weeks will be stuff where it's players getting on the ball, thinking forward and playing forward, taking care of possession. I want the training to be enjoyable. If you've got people out there enjoying what they're doing, that's the big thing. Often we can get so fixated on philosophy and tactics. We have to remember everyone around this game at one point, all these players fell in love with football with a ball at their feet. When fans come to the Den, although I know there is an absolute base requirement that we have to tackle, fight, and be difficult to beat, I think we want to be a little bit more as well. We want to take the game to teams, be on the front foot, and creating numerous chances. That's the vision. When you have a group that's worked together consistently for as long as this group have, I don't think quick change and immediate change will be particularly smooth or easy. There will definitely be bumps in the road. I won't be looking to revamp the team completely overnight. There are some players in this group that are very used to what they're doing, and I completely respect that. We have to make it as uncomfortable as we can to maximising their capabilities. So he's saying they're shit, and he has to get the best out of them. So we can't be playing sexy football right away. So he's probably going to want to spunk a load of money in January. So let's hope he is half decent and we don't just waste our money like we did under Nigel Spackman. Okay, moving on to this. Also from londonnewsonline.co.uk. I think the Southern News guy had the day off, I don't know. South London Press have been pumping them out today. Millwall's new head coach Joe Edwards explains how he ended up joining interview process for Den vacancy. Now this is interesting. Joe Edwards has revealed that he was invited. He was invited into the Millwall managerial interview process by the club's director of football operations and recruitment, Alex Aldridge. The 37-year-old was appointed as the Lions' new head coach this afternoon. Edwards told Millwall TV Plus that he'd been sounded out about vacancies before, but added that talks with Aldridge, Chief Executive Steve Kavanagh, and Chairman James Berylson made him decide the time was right to take on a boss job in club football. He's previously been assistant manager at Everton and is also part of Chelsea's senior coaching setup under Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel. In August, he was appointed England under-20 head coach, but has left that position to lead the Lions. To be honest, I don't think it's about the right moment to be a head coach. It's more about the right fit, the right opportunity, said Edwards. I was here for the first home game against Bristol City. I didn't have a job at that point. I was just coming to watch some football in London. Millwall were at home and I wanted to come to the game. He is a day tripper. He is one of those day trippers. The ones that infest the Den at the moment. He's one of them. Shortly after that, I joined the FA as head coach of the under-20s. Until a couple of weeks ago, I was really enjoying my role at FA. We were working with some good people and obviously some really good players. I was happy and I wasn't in a position where I was out there putting my CV around and looking for jobs here, there and everywhere. I was comfortable in what I was doing, but then quite out of the blue, there was a change at Millwall. And shortly after that, I heard from Alex Aldridge, who I'd known from a few years ago, just talking about players and stuff like that in the past. Once Alex invited me to be part of the interview process, it was something I was interested in because of the club. There were other clubs I'd had approaches from in the past, and I didn't feel the opportunity or time was maybe right. For a club the size of Millwall, first I wanted to see what it really looked like. I know Millwall was a big championship London club, which has been a pretty stable position now, which appealed to me. The first time I spoke to the club was with Alex and Steve, and straight away there was a really good rapport and chemistry with Alex and Steve. Then that progressed to another meeting where Scott Fitzgerald joined us and I met Jimmy. Being sat in a room with what felt like a tight-knit group of people, but also the people running the club. It felt like there was something special there. It felt tight-knit, but they had enough knowledge and passion, most importantly alignment in each other. I think that's crucial. Some other clubs have problems and it starts at the top and there was a lack of alignment. So everywhere that was going on in that room, I could see the people were on the same page. Working with good people is key. Once we started getting into it, it just began to feel more and more of a good fit. So, he didn't even apply for the job. This is why he came out of nowhere in terms of being linked to the job. Now, listening to or watching Lions TV earlier, he said the rumours are that Kevin Muscat wanted 35k a week and that Nathan Jones wanted a release clause. Now, why would he want a release clause? Because he's probably taking the job to rebuild his reputation so that he can then get a better job that pays more money in the future. Because I imagine Millwall aren't paying that much money. Because the same was with Gary Rowett, his reputation was in the toilet as well. To be fair, so this is giving me bad vibes. This is giving me my spidey senses tingling. This is basically the cheap option, but dressed up as an exciting new thing. I imagine that the club, if Adam Barrett had won at least 1 or 2 games, he would have got the job. But he didn't, so they didn't. So they've looked for another cheap option, which is a guy who's taken his first ever job in being well, he's not the manager. He's not even the manager. They haven't even got a manager. They've got a head coach. Oh my god, this is either going to be the best thing since sliced bread, or this is going to be absolute fucking dog shit. And we're going to find out, aren't we? Yeah, but this is giving me really bad vibes. So yeah, like I said, I think I did say at the time when he was linked to it, like it sounds like they're headhunting people. Yeah, this is just weird. I don't know if you've ever been headhunting for a job. I was, and at the time I felt, oh wow, great, they really want me. It turned out no, they really wanted someone because they were just throwing things out willy nilly because no one wanted to fucking work there, and it was the worst fucking job I've ever had. And I wanted to leave after 3 months, and I did after 6. It was absolutely fucking dog shit. But at the time when they first approach you, and it looks like they really want you. They're like making a play. Oh, come and work for us. It's like, oh, okay. You get caught up in it. You get swept up in it. But yeah, so he didn't even apply for this job. Oh man, like I said, this is giving me really bad vibes. Moving on, like I said, South London Press been pumping them out today. So yeah, LondonNewsOnline.co.uk. Adam Barrett set to stay at Millwall, part of Joe Edwards' backroom team. Adam Barrett set to stay at Millwall, part of Mill's backroom setup, with Joe Edwards to be confirmed as the Championship club's new head coach at the start of this week. We revealed in episode 4 of the South London Press Football Podcast. Yeah, they put out a special edition of that. I think with just the two of them, Richard Corley and Edmund Brack. That's out on Spotify, I think, and I think it's also on Apple Music. Is it? No, not Apple Music. Apple Podcasts. I don't know. I don't use that one. I use something else. Edwards that the current caretaker manager would not be leaving. Edwards 37 will also bring in Andy Myers, Chelsea's lone player technical coach. Barrett was on the same UEFA Pro license coaching course as Myers and Edwards, and Edwards wants him to remain on his team. So Barrett was on the same course as Myers, not Edwards. Edwards was on the same course as Gary Rowett, apparently. The former Crystal Palace and Southend United centre-back stepped in on a temporary basis to handle first-team affairs after Gary Rowett left by mutual consent last month. Barrett's final match as caretaker saw the Lions lose 1-0 to Southampton. Ryan Fraser's stoppage time goal ensuring he did not finish with a point. Millwall players are off today and will have their first training session under Edwards tomorrow. Edwards had a 27-year association with Chelsea, first joining their coaching ranks at the age of 19, winning the FA Youth Cup twice and also back-to-back runners-up finishes in the UEFA Youth League. Edwards also managed the Blues in the EFL Trophy, and they only missed out on reaching the Wembley final after semi-final a penalty shootout defeat to Lincoln City, the furthest any Premier League academy team has gone in a tournament. He quit the Blues to become assistant manager to Frank Lampard at Everton. Edwards was promoted onto Chelsea's first team coaching staff when the former England international took charge. He stayed at that level when Thomas Tuchel succeeded Lampard, the German going on to lead Chelsea to Champions League victory. Edwards is currently England under-20 head coach, and they said in the previous statement that he was leaving that job. They have, after the Sheffield Wednesday game, there's an international break. England under-20s have 2 games during that break. Is he going away to manage the team during that, or is he literally cut ties and the assistant will be doing that? Because I think it's just like glorified friendlies. But so yeah. So we've read the stories, we've read the details. I'm getting creepy bad vibes. Apparently everyone else is loving it. I think this is Nigel Spackman Mark II. I hope we don't spunk a load of money in January if he's not that great a manager. Well, he's not manager, he's head coach. Head coach. So this is where Richard Corley got his stats from, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you behind the mirror. This is you're probably familiar with this. It's some weird German website called Transfer Market, but the market is spelt with no E. Why? I don't know. They probably couldn't get the domain name was already taken. So it's transfermarket.com without an E. It's the lads Joe Edwards' page. So let's look over here at the date. So he's been England under 21, England under 20s manager right now. He's had 2 games. He's lost them both. 2-1 in Portugal and 2-0 in Romania. Now, if you look, that was this year, last month in October 23. Before that, his last job as a manager, or I keep saying manager, I'm going to say manager, even though he's head coach. His last job as manager was 4 years before that, in 2019, as Chelsea's under 23s. So what he's done, what he seems to be doing. Now, here's the thing. Do results matter in the youth football? Yes and no, not really. Do players matter? Yeah. Chelsea, I'll tell you in a minute. I've got a story pulled up. Chelsea is the premium cream de la cream of youth football in this country. Probably you could argue even better than Manchester United's class of 92. They've just been pumping out player after player, not just for Chelsea but for other Premier League teams as well. So he's getting the cream of the crop here, and he's managing them. You understand what he's doing? He's doing well in the cup games, but not so much in the league. But like I said, in youth football, does it really matter? Now, as a manager, he has managed 89 games, winning 50. You can see it's on the right hand side here. Winning 50, drawing 10, losing 29, scoring 208 goals, conceding 140. That's 160 points. That averages 1.8 points per match. But again, he's got the best youth players in the country. But like I said, worrying that he was an assistant. He went off from being a manager to being an assistant for 4 years. He's come back as a manager, the England under 20s, and he's lost 2 of 2. Is he rusty? Has he lost it? Did he ever have it? I don't know. So, like I said, 2019 under 23 manager. This competition here, UEFA Youth League. I think it's an under 21 competition, not too sure. But he was managing that as well as the under 23s. He got them to the final. If you look here, the semi-final, they beat Barcelona 7-6. 7-6. They beat Zagreb in the quarterfinals 6-4. Goals galore, 6-4. They lost in the final to FC Porto 3-1. So you got them to the final of the UEFA competition, lost 3-1. So that was in 18-19. In 18-19, is it this one? Yeah, the table. They finished 6th in the league. 22 games, won 9, drawn 4, lost 9. So that suggests he doesn't play for the draw. He's gung-ho. So you either end up winning or you end up losing. So he's not. Let's settle for the draw. Okay. So if we go back, 18-19, you've seen that. If we scroll down, it's got all the games he managed in the list. You can see the results if you want to see them. 10-1 against Molde FK. That was in 2018. Is this? That's still 8. Yeah, that's still 18-19. That's still 18-19. So we need to go back to where are we going? To May 2018. So here we go to the final before. So 2 finals in a row. He got them in 2018, the 17-18 season. Got them to the UEFA final again. They lost to Barcelona 3-0. In the semi-finals, they beat Porto 3-2. In the quarters, they beat Real Madrid 4-2. And you can see here the formations are listed. Now, is this accurate? This is going to be mostly accurate. It's not going to be 100% really accurate. But we can say it's mostly accurate. You can see the formations that he uses, they change quite a bit. That's probably depending on the players that he's got available to him. So where we are, we're at 17-18. We've seen that he got to the final of the FA Youth League. And what else have we got here? So here, like they said there, EFL Trophy in February 2018, 17-18 season. Lincoln City, semi-finals. They drew 1-1 and they lost 5-3 on penalties. So yeah, there's that. They were playing the EFL Trophy. That, as they mentioned then, that was the best performance by an academy in the EFL Trophy of all time. So 17-18 season. You can see the games as we go down, and that's it. So 16-17, he had the year off. He wasn't coaching, he was being a loan manager. He was managing the players who were out on loan, scouting them, keeping in contact with them, deciding where they go on loan, if they get recalled, all of that stuff. So that's what he was doing for the missing year of, if you look here, 16-17. That's what he was doing. Now, why was he doing that? Was there not a job coaching for him? Did they choose someone else to coach the team and it wasn't a job for him to do? So they decided to get a job for him and then bring him back in later. Maybe, I don't know. You can see here, so 15-16. He wins the FA Youth Cup with the under-18s because he's their under-18 manager now. Right? So all this success he's having, it looks like he's got the same players are more or less going through with him. So he's the under-18 manager in 14-15, 15-16. He takes a year off. He comes back 17-18 to the Chelsea under-23s. So those players in the under-18s would now be 20 years old, and he's managing them in the under-23s. So he's got the same players all the way through. So it's no wonder he's doing so well with them. Is it not? Now, for some reason, this website starts at the 5th round and only gives you, even though there's Chelsea going at the 3rd round, so there's 2 games missing. So you can see in the 15-16 season, we don't have on here the league games, but we do have the FA Youth Cup games, because at that level, this is the preeminent competition. It's the FA Youth Cup. That's what everyone wants to win at under 18 level. And you can see in 15-16, it's a 2-legged affair. They drew 1-1 with Man City and then they beat them 3-1. In 14-15, again Man City. So you got the 2 best academies in the country. Obviously Man City, we know about them. They're stealing our players as well. Dozy and others. So they beat them 3-1, beat them 2-1. So 2 years running, he wins the FA Youth Cup. Takes a year off, comes back later, more or less managing the same players for the under-23s. Gets them to the semi-finals of the EFL Trophy. If you don't know what that is, auto windscreens. Gets them to 2 finals in a row of the UEFA Youth League. But in the league, under 23 league so this is 18-19. They finished 6th. In 17-18 they finished 8th. And again, they win 8, they draw 5, they lose 9. 34 goals scored, 35 conceded. So there you go. Now talking about, so when he was on, I've shown you the under 18 performance in the FA Youth Cup, but what about the league? Well, this is from a website called youthhawk.co.uk. This is his last season as under 18, coached the 15-16 season. If you look on the right hand side, you can see they finished first in the Southern Group, so it's split into North, Midlands and South, and you play each of those teams twice, and then you go through to a national tournament from each from the teams in the top of each of those leagues, and they finished third in that. So I think the table is here. Is it or not? No. And we can see the missing games for the third and fourth round. So he won 6-1 and 5-1 here. We get the full results here. So that's another 2 wins on his record here, where it says up the top 89. There's 2 games missing that they haven't mentioned. All these games here in the thing that he's mentioned. So these are the players that he had at that level, under 18. Tammy Abraham, some you might know, Clark Salter, De Silva, Shalabar, Conor Gallagher, Mark Gay, Reece James, Luke McCormack, George McCracken, Mason Mount. So he's got the best of the best. Lewis Walker. So there you go. He's got players that you know in that youth team that won the FA Youth Cup. The season before that, so his first season as under 18 manager, 14-15. We don't have it split into things, but we can go down. So this is the National League. They finished third, won 4, drawn 1, lost 2, 3 points behind Middlesbrough. But in the Regional League, if we go down to the south, they won that for 15 wins, 3 draws, 4 defeats, 69 goals scored, 35 conceded, 48 points. So they won it by 10 points over Chelsea. So there you go. So you add that to his stats. So that's, what was that, another 30 games missing from his stats from the under 18 league section. But like I said, he's had the same players. He started out with the under 18s. I imagine that someone was in that job and they couldn't give it to him because they didn't want to let the other guy go. They wanted him to progress with the players, so they didn't want to get rid of him. So they gave him that loan manager job. And then when the under 23 thing came available, then he went in and he went back to coaching the players that he had at under 18. So he's had the same players all the way through. But hello, once he gets on, has to go and manage players that he doesn't know, we get Romania 2, England 0, Portugal 2, England 1. Like, what are we getting here? What are we getting? Does he know how to manage? Did he forget? Did he get lucky? Did he have the best youth players in the country? And did he have what was that, a 5-year relationship with them? He knew them off by heart. This, like I said, this is kind of worrying to me. This is giving me bad vibes. Moving on to this, to show you, if you didn't know how good Chelsea's academy is. This is from a website called Training Ground Guru. It's about coaching job. It's coaching news. It's basically a career site for coaches and professionals behind the scenes in football. Low-level coaches. You can see they're advertising jobs here on the side here. The UAE, lead academy B team analyst for Rangers. So if you want to get a job in football, you know about this website. They had a conference recently, and Dave Carolyn, Millwall coach, was there speaking about the future of football is players having their own coaches, their own staff, their own medical team, and just sidestepping the club. So here we go. Standard bearers for EPPP. Here we go. So you've got, on the left is the Premier League's Director of Football, and on the right is Neil Bath, Chelsea's Director of Football Development. So this is from a year ago. This is literally a year ago, 18th of November 2022. Chelsea's Academy was the venue for the Premier League to unveil their report on a decade of the elite player performance plan. So this is a plan that they come up with because they wanted to. We had the Premier League, but it was full of foreigners, and the England team was fucking dog shit. We didn't produce our own players. They were just spending money and sending it abroad to bring in decent players, and that needed to end. They wanted the English players to compete. So what did they do? They come up with this academy system. You needed to have certain levels to be facilities to reach a certain level to get funding and all that shit. So that's what they did. They set standards and they pushed it, and it's been 10 years since they started doing that. The choice was easy to understand because in many ways Chelsea are the standard bearers for the modern English academy system. They moved into their state-of-the-art Cobham facility in 2004, so 20 years ago, and now have a pipeline of young players into the first team. 6 academy graduates, Broha, Gallagher, Mount, Hall, Chalabar and Loftus-Cheek started their last Premier League game, the 1-0 defeat by Newcastle United at St James's Park last Saturday, and the club topped our recent academy productivity ratings. I have shown you that in the past. It's basically they analyse how many players that are playing for that team came through their own academy, and I think Millwall were like 60th or something. Chelsea's head of academy is Neil Bath, who was promoted to Director of Football Development and Operations earlier this week, and who joined the club as a part-time schoolboy coach in 1993. That was back in the days when the youth teams trained at Battersea Park on weekdays. Despite his length of tenure, the 53-year-old remains as restless and relentless as ever, which is why the club unveiled a Vision 2030 for their academy last year. Planning started in 2019 when Frank Lampard was manager, and it came to fruition last year. We met as a management team and reviewed how things are going in the academy, Bath remembered. We said we're in a good place in terms of young players getting an opportunity, but we need to go again. The day before our trip to Cobham, Chelsea's academy staff and players had some even more illustrious visitors, the New Zealand All Blacks. The team took on England at Twickenham on Saturday and broke off from their training schedule to share ideas with Bath and his staff. A signed All Blacks shirt lay across the table in Bath's office, which is situated in the middle of the academy building and invariably has an open door. He explained that other teams and individuals from football, other sports and beyond are regularly invited in to talk about best practice. In the morning, we went inside the dome called the Arena to watch Chelsea's under 13s doing individual work with coaches. In total, there are 24 full-time coaches at the academy and about 200 players. But for this session, the coach to player ratio was almost 1-to-1. So you can see the level that they're at. This is what he was involved in. This was what he was managing. This isn't what he's going to find at Millwall. This probably isn't what he found at Everton, but he wasn't the manager there. Afterwards, a group of players came in to reflect on how they compared to a list of high performance behaviours written on the wall behind. Very Ian Holloway that, putting things on the wall. There were 5 characterizations: the spectator, the moaner, the high performer, the bully, and the survivor, with different traits listed for each. Part of the discussion was about exactly what bravery means in a football context. All very new age, isn't it? All very Alan Partridge. At lunch, the boys, the 13s, 14s, 15s and up to 21s, mixed in with each other and with the staff, who included former Chelsea player and now under 21s assistant John Harley, Carl Hutchins, and the former Brentford player and now a property entrepreneur and mentor, sat eating and chatting with one of the older boys at a small table. There are plans to further develop the academy site, and Bath insists the new owners Todd Bowley and Bedad Ekbali remain as committed to youth as predecessor Roman Abramovich. After years of failing to get first team opportunities, Chelsea's youngsters really started to come through under Lampard when there was a transfer ban. Yeah, no shit. They got no other option. What are they going to do? However, last summer the Blues spent $278.4 million on signings, potentially blocking pathways for homegrown players, and they spent even more since then. This is a year old. When asked about whether he thought the new owners would continue to back the academy, Bath said, "Oh yes, 100%, I really do. It's always a team effort, everybody's in it. Frank put them in it and gave them the opportunity." Subsequently, Thomas has kept it going and Graham's kept it going. The new owners, have gone on the fact that they will continue that opportunity, and I'm very confident they are excited about supporting and taking the vision forward. It will get their full support. A decade of EPP. We were at Cobham to mark 10 years of EPP, the plan that was launched by the Premier League, Football League and Football Association in 2012 with the objective of producing more and better homegrown players in England. More than 90 clubs now hold Category 1 to 4 academy licences, and there have been many successes. Full-time academy coaches increased from about 250 in 2012 to more than 800 in 2022. 1.94 billion invested in youth development by Premier League and clubs since 2012-13. 77% of pro contracts in Premier League and EFL held by homegrown players. Twice as many minutes played by English under 21s in 21-22 compared to 2012-13 when it was first launched. 566 homegrown Premier League debuts since the launch of EPP. And 47% of 1,866 players to have featured in the Premier League since 2012-13 are homegrown. So that was the aim, and that's what they've done. Whereas there was one single overarching target for EPP in 2012 to produce more and better English players. They are now free, with providing life-enriching experience and enhancing the health of the game added to the mix. Academies play a central role in ensuring the long-term health of our game for the benefit of all its stakeholders and participants, said Neil Saunders, the Premier League's Director of Football, who accompanied us on the visit to Cobham. Challenges remain, however, as Saunders himself acknowledged a constant complaint has been about the levels of compensation received when players move to other academies. In 2018, former Ipswich owner Marcus Evans said, at the moment, the tribunal valuations for the loss of a talented player to the top Premier League clubs bears no relation to the potential of the player. Saunders said there had been an increase of compensation costs by about 70% across the board, so clubs do receive more if a player moves at different age groups, and we also increase the contingent sums when a player goes on to make an appearance in the Premier League. These changes weren't publicly announced through the new compensation rates can be seen in the Premier League's youth development rules for 2022. Academies have also been criticised for their levels of aftercare or lack of for released players. This really came to the fore following the suicide of Jeremy Whiston in October 2020, less than 2 years after he had been released by Manchester City. Saunders pointed to the recent commitment for there to be a full-time player care officer at every Category 1 to 3 academy, with $2 million provided by the Premier League to help this happen. Furthermore, clubs have been asked to give a 3-year commitment of support to released academy players, which is convenient because he killed himself 2 years after. So there you go. Let's support them for 3 years because that'll be good, wouldn't it? Education is another hot topic. As Saunders' predecessor Jed Roddy told TGG, that's the name of this website, Training Ground Guru. When we started to measure inside the system, we found boys were progressing in terms of the national average in terms of their academic progress between the ages of 9 and 11, but that by the time they reached 16, they were below the national average. So we were taking them on a journey from above average to mediocrity, and that was a problem. Saunders insisted there had been progress in this area as well. Something we're really proud of is that our boys' GCSE results are above the national average, and that's a huge shift from where we were 10 years ago. We've seen big improvements there, and at the older age groups where traditionally it was a BTEC model that all the players would follow, all of that has led to a significant increase in our boys taking A-levels, more going on to our higher education. We have Progress 8, a rule that every boy has to take at least 8 GCSEs, and we are working with clubs to track that progress. TGG understands that less than a fifth of scholars take A-levels. So the guy's saying one thing and they've said, well, actually, less than a fifth, so less than 20% actually go on and take A-levels. You might force them to take 8 GCSEs, which are piss easy nowadays. But you don't require them to take A-levels. and only 20%, less than 20% of them do that. Brexit poses another big challenge in terms of player recruitment in particular. Brexit impacts clubs' ability to recruit players 16 to 18, Saunders explained. That's a FIFA regulation that you can't recruit before 18, so the challenge is how do we adapt and create the opportunities for players to play with and against elite European opposition. Bath added, I genuinely believe a best with best model is good for the development of young English players, and I use the examples of Andreas Christensen, who's Danish, and Nathan Acker, who's Dutch, as two players who have been part of the development of English talent. I would be in support of challenging the criteria to enable us to get greater access to talent from abroad, to go back to the best with the best. So he's literally saying, if we could, we would fuck like these rules, fuck the rules. We want to buy the best players in the world. So that's the mentality that they have, and that's what they've got. They've got the best players in the country. They want to get the best players in the world, and that's what they have at Chelsea. And why I'm boring you with this story that has nothing to do with Millwall is to explain what this guy was living in. He was living in nirvana. He was living in football heaven. He had the best players at that age group. He won 2 FA Youth Cups in a row, had a year off, came back to the under 23s, got them to the EFL Trophy semi-final, and got them to 2 UEFA Youth League finals in a row where they lost. Chelsea's Vision 2030. As the Premier League are looking to improve and develop the academy system, so too are Chelsea. Their Vision 2030 has 5 main targets. For 15% of their Premier League minutes to be from academy players. Now, this is the thing. Is this what Millwall are trying to do? Do they have targets like this? Because we've just come off a season where our under 21s won their league and won the National League. We've got under 21 players out on loan. We've just had to let go. Well, we didn't have to let go, but we let go some decent players. Isaac Olofi. He probably wasn't good enough for our first team, but he's certainly good enough for Stockport County's first team. We sold him on, where he had a sell-on clause. We had a first option buyback clause. So that's our academy there, playing for Stockport County and scoring a lot of goals in that league. For 25% of their first team squad to be from the academy. So for us, was it 21 players in our first team squad? So a quarter of that. So let's say 20. So that would be 5. So they want 5 players in our academy, in our first team squad to be from the academy, which is just under at the moment, unless you include Idomu Maku. You can't really, because he came from Ireland. He did play for our academy, but he wasn't made in the academy. So you've got Danny McNamara, you've got Billy Mitchell, you've got you got Nino Adam Maliki, and Billy Mitchell. So was that 3, 4? Oh, SA and Amaku. If you include Amaku, so that's 5. To have above national average GCSE and A level results, to have more academy players in the professional game than any other academy. So this is their target. To flood football with people from Chelsea's academy. To win more national and international competitions than other academies. Bath remains passionate about both player and coach development. Aha. So not only do they want to flood English football with players that have come through Chelsea's academy, they want to do the same with coaches. The roll call of coaches who have come through the academy is arguably as impressive as that of the players. Well, we'll see about that. With Michael Beale, Joe Edwards, Paul Clement, Steve Holland and Brendan Rodgers among the graduates who've gone on to big senior jobs. Now, is it me, or does one of those names stand out? You have Michael Beale, you've heard of him. Paul Clement, you maybe have heard of him. Steve Holland, you probably have heard of him. Brendan Rodgers, you've certainly heard of him. Did you hear of Joe Edwards before last week? No, you probably didn't. You never heard of him. And as some people have rightly pointed out and been chastised for, he doesn't even have a fucking Wikipedia page. Everybody's got a Wikipedia page. But yeah, so you're looking at these names, they've put his name in there. But I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say it. It looks like he's the runt of the litter. He's the last one to come out to get a proper job. He didn't even apply for the job. Someone asked him to come and apply for the job. Edwards' potential. They start talking about Edwards. Edwards' potential was identified early in his coaching career, and he was given a 1-year sabbatical in the club's loan department to gain different experience, as well as making visits to Borussia Mönchengladbach and Real Betis and working with England under-18s. So this kind of they did that to get him work experience. Now he's assistant to Lampard at Everton, so they're including that as a big job, being an assistant at Everton. I mean, fuck me. Having also worked alongside him with Chelsea's first team. Developing coaches involves putting a cell around them, Bath explained, with different subject matter experts on hand to provide support. Joe Cole, who has been on coaching with the academy recently, wanted to develop his presentation skills, for example. He was filmed and given analysis feedback on his performance in this important area. Similarly, every player all the way back down to foundation phase has a case study every 6 weeks in order to see how they are progressing against their individual action plan. Bath said the academy is trying to develop the future player and that data and analysis was a particular area of focus and investment. So it seems to me that what was this guy's weaknesses that they tried to boost up by sending him in on loan department? Does he not like travelling abroad? Does he like B.A. Baracus? Does he need to learn how to fly? I don't know. Working with England under 18s? What's that about? Where are we at? He said, how are we going to develop players in our coaching content and in our games program to be able to move with the trends of the game, which are scrutinised through video and data more and more? Even the youngest players are now comfortable with media and analysis and expect to have their say in their development. The conversations you have now with 12-year-olds are unbelievable, Bath said. There remains a big focus on the person as well as the player, however, so there is an emphasis on education with youngsters attending the part-sized school, which is down a lane from the training ground, and there are also 7 full-time teachers at the academy. Of our full-time players in the school that did 8 GCSEs, something like 98% are passed above average, Bath revealed. They are really quite impressive results. Not really. Let's read that again. Of the full-time players, so he's already qualifying full-time players, so part-time players don't count, in the school. So what about the ones that aren't in the school? That did 8 GCSEs. Something like 98% passed above average. Above average. So what's average? Half? So they got 51%. So nearly all of your people got more than half. How many of them got A's? Like a D is a pass, isn't it? B plus is a pass. I mean, you're being very loose with your words here, mate. Mental health is also a big consideration. There is a regular PERMA profiling of players. Positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning and accomplishment. More mumbo jumbo. Bath has come a long way from those days at Battersea Park almost 30 years ago, but his enthusiasm appears undimmed. He, Chelsea's Academy and EPPP as a whole now move into a new era and appear to be relishing it. So the reason why I read you that long ass boring fucking story was to point out that Joe Edwards is apparently one of the main men to come out of the Chelsea coaching system, but he's literally the last one to do so. All the others come out long ago and people know who they are. Michael Beale, Paul Clements, Steve Holland and Brendan Rodgers. Also to show that the players that he had are the fucking cream of the cream. They are the cream of the cream. That's what he had. And he did do well with them. I mean, he won 2 FA Youth Cups. I mean, fair play to him. He got them to 2 UEFA Youth League finals. Losing to Porto and Barcelona, that's not easy, is it? And he got them to the semi-final of the EFL Trophy. They lost on penalties, so they drew the game, but they lost on penalties. Fair play to that. But in the league, they didn't do too well. Now, here's the thing: if he is now in his job now that he had, if I remind you, if you haven't forgot, 2 games, 2 defeats, dog shit. So in a team that isn't Chelsea, that he's managed, dog shit. He's got a 0% win record. All he knows is Chelsea. That's all he knows. This is extremely worrying for me. I'm not. I told you in yesterday's video, I didn't really feel anything. I'm not too sure about this. Now I'm getting worried. Now I think this is the cheap option. Now I think they're dressing it up as a different direction. This is he didn't even apply for the job. Oh, Aldo went and got him. This is ringing alarm bells in my head. This feels like Nigel Spackman Mark II. But hey, if he is a cup specialist, would you take if we could look into the future, and I can tell you with certainty that we finish, let's say, 12th in the league for the next 5 years, but we win a cup. Let's say we win the League Cup. Would you take that? There's a lot of fans are saying like, "Oh, we're getting the Premier League. Like Millwall's finished. Game's going to be gone. It's going to be shit. Like, it's going to be over. Like, the tourists are going to ramp up. It's going to be impossible. That kind of thing. They think that like if Millwall get the Premier League, it's going to be over. We're going to be up there for a year. We're going to be battered every week, and we're going to go back down with some money in our pocket. But I mean, so that's what a lot of fans would be happy with that. If I said next 5 years, 12th in the Championship, and then a lot of fans were like, well, that we're not going to be in danger of being relegated, and we're not going to be in danger of going up. They think, oh, that's. But then if we do have the cup run, see if he is good at cup runs and we get the cup, if we get to the finals of the cup, if we win a cup, would you take that? I don't know. I think, like I said, I'm worried now. I wasn't yesterday. I didn't really think anything about this, but I'm worried now. Let me go back. I think as well. Is it on here? No. There were some pictures of him as well. They had like a little. I didn't bring it up. Oh, it's this one. Is it this one? I'll show you now. These pictures don't seem. Obviously, it's like some weirdo photo. You know, they do these stupid photo shoots. He doesn't look. He looks like a tourist who doesn't. Who's trying to find his seat. He doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not feeling it. Look at this one here. His eyes. He's like. It doesn't. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Look at his eyes. He's like. He's like. He's frightened. He looks like he's frightened. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like he's got the fire. He looks frightened there. Now maybe he's just it's just a photo shoot. And he's like, they're making him do this dopey shit, and he's doing shit. Oh, they made him. Apparently, Millwall got a WhatsApp channel now. Apparently, WhatsApp, because it's bought by Facebook, they're copying Telegram and having like channels on it. And Millwall have a channel, and he made a video for them. But yeah, I mean, this is. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look. It doesn't look. It don't look right. It don't look right. You can see. Look, he looks fucking frightened as fuck. Maybe he's bored as fuck. Maybe he's like, how many fucking photos do you need? I've been up here. I've been down here. I've been down on the fucking. They got him up in the West Upper now. And they've had him down in the fucking on the grass. They've had him in. He's having like fucking hell, mate. Maybe he's bored as fuck. Maybe he's not frightened. But I mean, fucking these pictures. He's. I'm not. I'm not feeling this. Leave a comment. Call me a cunt. Everyone. Everyone seems literally 95% of the comments are positive all over everywhere I look. I've heard one or two people mentioning that they're not happy about this and they're getting lambasted. So if you want to lambast me, come on then. But not for me, Beaky, not for me. And on that note, thank you for watching and goodbye.